Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to stick to Sweden, and we're also going to stick to my home county of Skåne here in the very south of the country. For this review we are going to return to a brewery who are probably one of the two best known craft breweries here in the county. I've reviewed many beers from these guys before, and when it comes to this brewery everyone always thinks about the big fruity IPAs, and in more recent times it's been the pastry stouts and the big Berliner Weisses and sour beers that they've been doing. So it's one of those that we're going to have a look at today, and this is another series that I've not tried anything from yet, so quite curious to see what this one has in store for us, and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this beer as well. So yeah, for this review then we are going to head up to Helsingborg in the northwest corner of Skåne, lovely city that I do recommend you visit, and we're going to have a look at yet another beer from Brewski Mikrobryggeri. So this particular beer is called the Raspberry Licorice Vanilla Sorbet. It comes in at 6% ABV, and I think this one is part of a new series. I think this Sorbet series is going to be another new one that they're putting out there over the next little while. But yeah, really curious to see how this one turns out. A 6% Berliner Weisse with raspberry, licorice and vanilla added into the brew. So yeah, I think this one should be quite interesting. Very recently I've been reviewing a lot of their cake series of imperial pastry stouts. I had two of those recently, and I've also been really impressed with the pie series that they've been doing as well, which is another kind of big fruity Berliner Weisse series that they do. Of course, historically speaking, these guys were really well known for the Fieber series of fruity IPAs, which I do recommend you try if you get the chance, and it was those styles that the brewery was focusing on for the most part, but in recent times they have been kind of varying it up a little bit, which is nice. But yeah, always nice to try new beers from Brewski. These guys are well known throughout the world these days actually. They've got beers, I've seen their beers over in Hong Kong and things like this, and I know that they're putting some stuff out to the States these days as well. So yeah, these guys are probably one of the best known breweries from Skåne, along with Liquorice. So yeah, two Skånsk breweries that I would highly recommend that you check out, and the sour beers that these guys are doing are very nice. So this is going to be my first one with Licorice in it, if memory serves me correctly, so fingers crossed this turns out to be a nice one, and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this beer as well. So yeah, let's go for it then. So as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Brewski Mikrobryggeri before, and we will no doubt add more to that list in the fairly near future. But there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you happen to be interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Brewski Mikrobryggeri then, on to my brewery notes. So Brewski Mikrobryggeri, as I've told you many a time before, were founded back in 2014, and they're based in Helsingborg in the northwest corner of Skåne here in the south of Sweden. So the founders of this company are Marcus Hjalmarsson, Johan Britsen, Alfred Olsson and Robin Skoglund, and all of these guys were inspired to get into craft beer after having tried the West Coast American beers. But Marcus was originally associated with the High Nose brand of beer, which was brewed at the Höganäs Brewery out to the northwest of Helsingborg on the Kullaberg Peninsula. Supposed to be very beautiful, and I do need to get up there and explore that a little bit. But some of those beers are still brewed up there, and this is where the Brewski beers were originally produced, but they now have their own facility in the old train yard to the south of the central station in Helsingborg, and this brewery is now producing in the region of 100,000 litres of beer per month from what I understand. But in 2016 they also started their own beer festival, which was called Brewskival. It had over 40 different breweries in the first year. I went there for the first time the following year, and it had expanded to 60 breweries, and it's expanded year on year since. Unfortunately, in 2020 it was cancelled because of a little thing called COVID-19. But they also used to open up their brewery once a month as a bar as well, which they called Barski, and they've now got their own bar in Helsingborg as well, which goes by the same name. This opened a little under 3 years ago, back in 2018. And you can go there, and they've got some Brewski beers that you won't find otherwise. They've got really nice ramen as well. It's not authentic Japanese ramen, it's an American chef that does it, but I have to say it is pretty tasty actually, so I would recommend that you check that out. But these days they're also brewing some of their beers in the US at Tampa Bay Brewing Company in Florida, mainly the IPAs. I think the other ones do actually get exported over there, and apparently at the moment they're also looking up to Oslo to open a bar there, so we'll see how that goes once the whole COVID-19 thing goes away. But apparently they've also got a distribution company now called Brewski, which is importing a number of the Swedish beers up into Norway. But as of February 2021, when I'm reviewing this beer for you, these guys have produced around 325 different kinds of beer, and that number will no doubt increase quite a little bit over the course of 2021, because these guys are highly experimental. They're always putting different things out there, and as I say, they've got some very, very nice beers. But yeah, that's all I can really tell you about Brewski Mikrobryggeri for the moment. If you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on. And you can, of course, check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn more about all these different beers that they've done. Like I said, this brewery are very well known for their kind of hazy New England IPAs, their fruity sours, and these days also their kind of their big pastry stouts that they're doing as well. So yeah, let's get on and actually have a taste of this beer then. I'm very, very curious about this one. So like I said, I think this one is going to be another new series that they've released. I think this was the first one of the Sorbet series that they released through Systembolaget. I think I forgot to say that earlier. This beer was released as part of the Lokal och Småskalig assortment through Systembolaget here in Sweden for February of 2021. And yeah, like I said, first of the Sorbet series that I've seen through Systembolaget. But Berliner Weisse with raspberry licorice and vanilla in it, coming in at 6% ABV, 330 milliliter can, and I think this beer cost me like 35 Swedish kroner. So that's that's maybe about £3.25, about €3.50, something like that, and then maybe near $4 American, somewhere in that region. But yeah, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting then. Lovely artwork on this can as usual. So yeah, I think this should be a really interesting one. I wonder if this is, oh, you can smell the vanilla off that straight away. Tell you something, this beer smells absolutely lovely just when we open it up. Just curious, is there any sediment on the bottom of the can here? No, it actually looks pretty clean. There we go. Yeah. I've had a couple of really nice sour beers in recent times from the likes of Duck Pond and Fermentararna, Morgendagens and things like that actually. So I think this one is maybe going to be a little bit akin to some of the Morgendagen stuff. I'm sure I've had a beer from them that's had a lot of licorice in it as well. And I think Duck Pond had one that had licorice in it too. So licorice, you know, it's very, very popular in Scandinavia. It's a very, very popular sweet to have, but it really works in some of these sour beers actually. But yeah, as you can see, this beer's poured with about a quarter finger of a frothy, kind of really pinkish, like candy sort of pinky head on this one. It looks very, very nice. So yeah, I think it goes, I think it works really, really well. So yeah, you can see there's a nice big kind of, that head on this one has just faded away to be a very, very thin foamy layer, and it's leaving a nice kind of fluffy ring around the side of the glass. But yeah, it looks absolutely great. As you can see, the colour on this one is a nice kind of maroon burgundy sort of colour. It looks absolutely lovely. For those of you watching from Scotland, it's like a Heart of Midlothian football shirt. Definitely like that. Although I've been told off by a few Hibs fans for saying that. Though it'd be a big G from Sunnyleaf. But yeah, the colour of this beer is absolutely lovely. Lovely dark and a deep burgundy purple sort of thing in there. It looks absolutely lovely. But yeah, when it's a raspberry sour, you know, that is to kind of be expected, to be honest with you. I'm just curious, does this one have oats and wheat in it? I'm guessing it probably will do. Yeah, it's got oats and wheat in it, this one, which makes sense when you see the level of haze on it. So let me just line that up, my OCD kicking in again, there we go. But yeah, looks very, very nice, this one. And you know, the level of haze on this is pretty damn impressive. If we shine the light through this, you can see there is a little bit of light just coming through the beer, but not a lot. This one is pretty damn hazy for one of these big juicy fruity sours. I wouldn't say it's the haziest and thickest, soupiest and gloopiest of ones that I've seen, but I think it certainly does look the part. This beer is actually very highly rated as well. I'll say when I had a little quick sneak on Untappd like earlier on, it was saying it was over 4, so I think it should be quite nice. We'll just need to see. Yeah, let's have a closer look at the aroma of this one then, and just see how we got on. As I've said to you in numerous videos before, when it comes to these big sweet sours, I always find them remarkably straight shooting in terms of their flavour profile and aroma, but the aromas are just always beautiful. They're just usually very, very nice. And yeah, this is absolutely lovely. It's really interesting. You can smell the raspberry and the licorice just kind of mixing together, and it gives you just, you know, the raspberry and the licorice really just, you get a wee bit of tartness out of the raspberry, but the way that the raspberry and licorice just mixes together, you actually get, you know, it's got a really dark, just lovely, deep and juicy quality to it. I think that just goes together really, really nicely in this beer. That's lovely. That really is very, very nice. I forget what the name of the Swedish sweet is that's raspberry, and then it's raspberry on one side and licorice on the other. It's the skull things. I think that's who the Morgendagens sour was actually named after. Or that's what I should say, not who. Brain is terrible these days. But yeah, it smells a lot like these kind of Swedish sweets, which are lovely. But yeah, lovely big kind of smooth vanilla notes coming out of this beer. I think it just goes together like really, really nicely, this one. You know, when it says raspberry, licorice, vanilla, sorbet, you know, I mean, I guess a little bit of the tartness would be the sorbet sort of thing, but it's a big, smooth, creamy sort of thing you get out of this. Lovely juicy strawberries in there, a little bit of tartness to them. You get the licorice, you can smell the licorice just kind of making the raspberries just even smoother, and then you've got the vanilla just kind of sitting underneath that. On the malty side of things, you can smell, you know, you can smell a big sort of yogurty, creamy kind of thing going on. You can definitely smell the thickness of the oats in there. There's a wee bit of bitiness from the wheat if you take the aroma in deeply enough, but you can smell it's got that petit filou kind of yogurt sort of thing to it as well, which you often get out of these big Berliner Weisses and Goses and things like that. So yeah, again, you know, it's remarkably straight shooting in its aroma, but it's just beautiful. You know, it's just got a lovely, very candied, juicy and sweet aroma to it. This one, as I say, I don't think this one has hops in it. I've said this in quite a few of my things. See, this is another one that's that's kind of interesting. So it says here in Swedish, Danish, Norwegian, corn malt vete havre, English barley wheat oat. But if you look at the Italian, it says lupulo, and it says the same. Wasser, Weizen, Himbeere. In German it says Hopfen, and yeah, in French it says Houblon as well. So they need to check their labels on this, because in some of the languages it's saying that it's got hops in it, and in some of them it's not. I would judge that going by the aroma of this beer, it doesn't have hops in it. And if it's saying in Swedish and English that it doesn't, then yeah. So they need to be careful of that, because I don't know if that, you know, these kind of things. Obviously, I don't know how common it is to have a hop allergy or whatever, but yeah, that's something that they need to think about a little bit. But you know, it's where I'm going with this is that it's always nice if you know to know whether there's hops and things in these beers, because I always feel that in sour beers, hops can just add a little bit more of a depth of flavour. When it comes to styles like this, quite often what they would do is add older hops or lower alpha acid hops into these beers that would not really interfere and take the focus away from the sourness of the beer. But I would judge that going by the aroma of this one, it smells a bit too smooth. You do get a little touch of earthiness, you get a wee bit of grassiness and a wee bit of floral note out of it, but it's too smooth for there to be hops in this beer. You can kind of tell from the aroma. We'll be able to tell on the taste as well when we do it. As I've mentioned in other videos, there's a brewery back home in Scotland, Vault City, who put the hops in the beer. I think it just adds a little touch more depth to the flavour, if you like. But in Sweden, and I think in Scandinavia generally, they don't actually put hops in these kind of sour beers. So it's an interesting debate that. Let me know your own thoughts about hops versus no hops in these kind of Goses and Berliner Weisses in the comment section below. But I think, yeah, Brewski, I've had a couple of cans from Brewski now, if memory serves me correctly, that say whether there's not, have said hops when there's not been hops and things in it in different languages. So they need to be a little bit careful of that, because that could cause them problems. But anyway, that's me nitpicking. But yeah, you do get a few hoppy-like notes out of this one. I bet it's mainly grassiness that you're going to find, I think, coming out of this beer. But yeah, the aroma of this is just lovely and smooth, creamy, and just nice and big and fruity. So yeah, take a bit of just take a little bit of time and enjoy that aroma before you get stuck in, because these big juicy fruity sours are very, very unique in that sense. The Scandinavians seem to have a really good grip on how to do these. Some of the Finnish ones I've had from the likes of Coolhead have been good as well. But yeah, let's have a taste of this one then and just see how we get on. So this one is the Raspberry Licorice Vanilla Sorbet, coming in at 6% ABV, a Berliner Weisse with raspberry, licorice and vanilla, from Brewski Mikrobryggeri in Helsingborg here in Skåne in the south of Sweden. Very, very curious about this. Let's get stuck in. Slange, skål, cheers. Yeah, that's interesting. It is actually quite different from what I thought it was going to be, but I think it's the licorice that's doing that. I came in and I was thinking, oh, this is going to be, you know, thick as anything, but then it was actually quite slick. But now you can feel the licorice just coming out straight away, and the licorice is really nicely done because it gives you a good little bit of sweetness. Yeah, this is a really quirky beer from the mouthfeel. It's lovely. I'm going to say straight away, flavour of this beer is really, really nice. But the mouthfeel is really unusual because of the way the licorice goes about its business. You'll take this beer in and it'll be really wet, you know, you'll get the fruits, you'll get the vanillas, then all of a sudden the licorice, that oily licorice, just takes over the middle of the palate. It's not like madly powerful and overpowers everything, but it just sort of gradually creeps in and gives you this oily feel across the middle of your tongue. It's really unusual how that goes together, actually, but it works. I mean, this is definitely one of the quirkier creations I've come across from Brewski, and I really like it. I really, really like this one, actually. Yeah. Well, I think this is maybe something I'll need to take for the guys in the Netherlands and stuff like that. I mean, I need to get a few more Swedish beers to some of the guys over in England and stuff like this to have a little look at, and yeah, we'll sort that out at some stage. But this one I would be very curious to hear some of their takes on, because that's really interesting and really quirky, actually. Yeah, that's it is really, really nice, I have to say. I really like how this one I really do like how this one goes together. So I'm just going to say straight away a big thumbs up to Brewski on this one. I'm curious to see what the next one in the Sorbet series is going to be like. I'm not surprised that this is good, because I've really enjoyed the pie series that I've had from these guys. The cake series has been good for the most part as well. I think there was the almond vanilla caramel cake or whatever it was. That one was a little bit unusual, if you like. But the Berliner Weisses that these guys are doing, the big sweet Berliner Weisses, tend to be very, very good. And this is definitely one of the more striking ones I've had. You know, the triple berry pie and the strawberry pie and all of these were very good, but this one just strikes you in a different way, and it's probably the licorice, just because of how, and you know, it's just unusual. I mean, it's not as if I've not had sours with licorice in them before, but this one, it's the licorice, and the way the licorice and the vanilla come out in this is just, you know, very nice. Yeah. Where to start with this one then? As I was saying to you, one of the things, as I've said in other reviews, one of the things I really like about talking about with sour beers, and the thing one of the criteria I would rate a sour beer on, is that when you take them in, they're always a little bit tart, they're always a little bit puckering, but for me, the thing that you want out of these beers is a really nice transition. You want it to have a really nice transition between being sharp and puckering in the beginning to being more juicy and sweet and oily, if that makes sense. So yeah, I do like how that goes together. Yeah, the fruity side of this beer as well. This is one of these beers where everything just fits together really, really well. On the surface of things, it seems like it's going to be an unusual combination, but it works. So yeah, when you take this beer in, you're going to get a lovely juice. You're going to find that juicy kind of raspberry note coming out of this one. It comes in a wee bit tart, but then it just kind of pushes across the back of the palate. You'll feel the vanilla kind of coming out on the sides of the palate almost as well, but then the licorice, the oily licorice, just rolls across that middle of your palate. It kind of just creeps forward and takes over, if you like. And as I say, the licorice isn't too pungent in its flavour, but I think the raspberry and the vanilla do a lot to kind of balance it out, if it makes sense. But the middle third and the back third of your palate, again, they feel really balanced. You can feel the nice kind of smooth oats under there, and you can feel the slightly thicker wheat on the back third of your palate, but underneath the licorice layer, you can feel that it's very, 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 very smooth, if you like. This beer, as a Berliner Weisse, this doesn't give you the kind of, in the aroma you can pick up that sort of yogurty petit filou sort of thing, but in the flavour you really don't get that. It's oats on the front half, oats on the front half, wheat on the back half, and then you've got that lovely just kind of oily smooth sort of thing in there as well. The vanilla kind of comes out, it's almost like if you're looking directly down the tongue, the licorice kind of comes straight down on a middle line like this, and it's like the vanilla's kind of on the edge of the palate almost. The vanilla sweetness comes out just on the edges of the palate. So it's a really interesting flavour combination, this one. I really, really like how all of this kind of pieces together. So yeah, I really like how that that goes together. Other than what I've said to you there's not too much to report in terms of the flavour profile. As I said, these beers are often remarkably straight shooting, but it works for them, and the flavour combinations just really, really work. On the kind of hoppy side of things, as I say, this beer, going from the flavour, this one doesn't have hops in it. So yeah, Brewski need to check the other languages on the can for that. But what I would say is that there is a little bit of placebo with this. You do get a tiny little bit of earthiness in the back corners of the palate. It's very, very smooth as you go further forward. There's a wee touch of floral note in the front corners of the palate. Then round the front curve of the tongue, you've got a little bit of a lighter sort of grassiness in there as well. So yeah, the fruity side of this beer, I think, is really, really nice. So yeah. So yeah, you've got a nice the grassiness that's there, I think, works really, really well. The grassiness again is just very, very smooth, and I think it is probably placebo that's doing that. But yeah, you can feel on that front third of your palate, as I always say, from that front third of your palate, that's where you get the nice fruity things. The other thing you have to remember with these sour beers is that when you add fruit into the brew, it kind of comes out around the side of the palate like an adjunct. It comes around whenever you add fruit as an adjunct, it always comes out on the sides of the palate, which I think is very, very good. So yeah, you get a nice little bit of raspberry sharpness in there. It does become a little bit juicier, and you've got a nice, how do you say, getting a little bit in the throat there from the licorice, it just feels very oily. But you get a nice, you can feel the oatiness kind of underneath, and you can feel some of the licoricey oil just kind of sitting in there as well. So you will get the impression of a wee bit of a kind of almost very slightly figgy, candied strawberry kind of thing, but the juicy raspberry just kind of sits on top of that. The raspberry really isn't so tart in this, but I think that's the influence both of the vanilla and the licorice. And you will, in fairness, as you move on that front half of the middle third of your tongue, you will get one or two little yogurty elements out of the beer as well. So there's definitely a few interesting things like that going on in this beer, absolutely. So yeah, the fruity side of this beer just really complements everything else very, very nicely. As I say, it does, more and more of the vanilla comes out as well, but the front layer of the fruity side of things, you can feel the oats and the smoothness in there. There's a wee bit of vanilla, the licorice layer on top, then you've got the juicy kind of fruity kind of thing there as well. So yeah, this is a really, really interesting combination of flavours, this one. It works extremely well, and I would go as far as saying this is one of my favourite sours that I've had from Brewski, actually. So with this one, really impressed with this, and I will be keeping an eye out for other things coming out in the Sorbet series, because yeah, they've pulled it off really nice. I think this is a style that Brewski are doing exceptionally well at the moment, and you know, there's some really good sort of Berliner Weisse Gose producers here in Sweden. Brewski do some really interesting stuff. Morgendagens, Wizard, Fermentararna, Duck Pond. You know, obviously Omnipoyo have been producing a lot of these beers as well. I'm trying to think if I missed anybody, but yeah, I had a very good one from 10 Hands actually very recently too, which I was impressed with. So yeah, there's lots of good sour beer producers out there just now, and I think this is a really kind of interesting thing. There seems to be a bit of I need to have a look at this Nordic sour sub-style that's going around. So yeah, we'll have a look. I need to kind of investigate that a little bit, and you know, get a full grip of what of everything that's going on with that. But this is just a beautiful beer, so well done to Brewski once again. I think we've described the flavour profile of this as much as we can, but yeah, let's have a little look at the mouthfeel then, just to round off the review. Very, you know, just lovely beer, this. So yeah, in terms of the mouthfeel then, I would say that this one is a very slick, slightly oily leaning sour. I mean, I really like how this goes together. The carbonation is very smooth, really slick, very oily kind of thing, and I think it really just works. It's the mouthfeel of this beer just suits everything. You get the oiliness from the licorice, it gives you a bit of smoothness from the vanilla, and you get the juiciness of the raspberry. You've got everything out of this. So yeah, the malt base, like I say, smooth underneath, but quite oily and almost kind of creamy in a way. In terms of IBUs, I'd say this beer probably has no IBUs, technically speaking, but there will be, you know, a couple in there, maximum of 5 or something. You do get a little bit of that out of this beer for sure. But then yeah, you've also got that nice juicy kind of fruity character in this one as well. Just there's a wee bit of tartness in the beginning, but really this is more just a big oily, juicy, fruity character that you get out of this beer. But it really works. I think this is a lovely beer, this one. So yeah, big thumbs up to Brewski for this, and I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink this again, and I will be keeping an eye on this this Sorbet series from them, so seriously well done to them. But yeah, let's leave it at that for this review. This has been a really interesting one. So this was the Raspberry Licorice Vanilla Sorbet, 6% Berliner Weisse, with raspberry, vanilla and licorice in it, from Brewski Mikrobryggeri in Helsingborg here in Skåne in the south of Sweden. Could well be the best sour beer I've had from Brewski so far, so big thumbs up to them for this. But yeah, once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Brewski Mikrobryggeri. We will return to these guys, I'm sure, very soon, because they're always putting out new beers and I'd enjoy their stuff. So yeah, this has been an awesome one. Let me know your own thoughts on it in the comment section below. Let me know any other sour beer breweries I might not have heard of here in Sweden or further afield. And yeah, make sure you check out some of the beers from Brewski if you get the chance. Slange, skull, cheers, and catch you guys in the next review.